January is known as Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and that is a topic which can bring some unhappy images for many people, but it is a reality for some in North Dakota. Reporter Adrienne Oglesby spoke with a local survivor who is sharing her story in an effort to raise awareness.
I'm just a force to be reckoned with, really. I'm a firecracker.
People often say what you go through and what has been done to you does not define you. And for Bismarck resident Nikki Blowers, that is exactly the case. Blowers is a human trafficking survivor who has overcome the worst of the worst.
Grew up here with my mom and my dad and my brother, and then around age 13 I started using drugs, and then that's what led me out to Reno, Nevada, and then eventually California, where I met my trafficker. I mean, he was just staying at the hotel that we were all staying at, and drugs were involved, and we just got high together, and that's kind of how I met him. And then I just kind of spiraled from there. And you know, he told me that I was too pretty to be a junkie, and that he would help me get clean and sober, and that I wasn't ready to come back home because I had done a lot of shady things back home. And so he just offered me a life of luxury and security, it was supposed to be.
She shared with us being from a small town state, she was very naive. But as drugs took over her life, she quickly learned that the human trafficking lifestyle is real, and it was in her own backyard.
But you don't see pimping and hoeing like in North Dakota on the streets like you do in the bigger cities.
Blowers says her family and locals were new to this as well.
I got home in 2007, and I didn't realize that I was trafficked until 2015, I believe. I just always thought like this was my choice, right? Because I had it ingrained in my brain that like this is your choice, even though it wasn't my choice. And so people just looked at me like, you know, I was just a prostitute, or if people knew what I was doing out there, we really didn't talk about it.
I think we just have to be transparent of what it looks like. I know this topic can be scary for people to talk about, but we also have to be real with what it actually looks like.
Not only was she living a life not heard of, but she was blind to it herself as she lived it. She saw herself as in love. Blowers says it wasn't until she found out she was pregnant through trafficking that she opened her eyes and saw that a change was needed.
A lot of people in the smaller town mentality think like, oh, it doesn't happen here. You know, that only happens in bigger cities. But it happens in plain sight more often than not.
1 in 6 children that end up homeless or running away become a victim of human trafficking. Reporting for KX News, I'm Adrienne Oglesby.
Schaefer says in 2016 about 40 million people were enslaved in the world, and right now that number is closer to 50 million. To learn more about the topic and to view other survivor stories and see what local resources are available, just go to our website, kxnet.com.